Super.
Hold on. Let me just make a quick check to
Yep,
see that
yep.
we
Let's check
are
those platforms. That's right. Hi,
we
everyone.
are on.
Welcome to Abroad and Informed. We are having our regular little IT check to make sure that people can watch us on all the platforms that they are inclined to do so. And we are present, but wanted to greet you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world that you are. And Angela, are we good to go?
Actually, sure we are.
All right,
Uh,
fabulous.
I know.
Fabulous. If that was the most difficult part, I think
That was
we're off to a good start.
let's see. Wow, we are alive and abroad. I do not see any of the streams.
All right, take a
I'm,
second to check those out. That's fine. It always reminds me of that episode from The West Wing for anyone who's old enough to remember The West Wing, where, Mrs. Bartlett cuts the president's tie so that he has to get out of his funk and quickly deal with the situation on hand before going onto the podium to have a debate and get a new tie. And that energy changes everything and sets the stage for him to do very, very well in that debate. So,
okay, we are live on Twitch.
wow, this is our inaugural
We
Twitch stream, everybody. So Hassan Piker,
we
take a card.
yeah, we are live on Facebook.
Super. Hello, Facebook fans
Let's
and
see.
followers and friends.
We are live on YouTube.
Oh boy,
And let's see.
the
Let's
internet can't
find.
handle
Let's see. And we are live on Substack.
it. All right, super, everybody. Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome again to Abroad and Informed. Angela, thank you so much for getting all of that set up. So please, why don't you welcome us?
Well, welcome everybody to our weekly show for Americans around the world who want clarity, connection, and a global perspective on issues shaping our lives. Each week, we will bring you news, conversations, and voting guidance designed to help keep you grounded in what matters, and no matter where you call home. So stay informed, get engaged, and make your voice count. Americans abroad can always vote, and especially in these midterms, the primaries are happening now. Redistricting is always happening these days since the Supreme Court made their ruling on Calais. But you can still vote. Your vote still counts. Go to votefromabroad.org and request your absentee ballot. Make sure you ask for it to come to you by email so it arrives in time. And if you can return it electronically, which many states allow, not every state, but many states allow, then return it electronically.
Yes,
Aaron.
exactly. Thank you, Angela. Yes, and that is a critical reason why you should make sure that you are, if you live abroad, you're an American citizen living abroad, you should ensure that you are registered as an abroad voter, not an in-state absentee voter. And you can find out all of that information at votefromabroad.org. So with that, we have a full show for you today. We are going to start by talking about the fallout from the Supreme Court's the SCOTUS's valet decision, which eviscerated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and the race to re-gerrymander states, especially in the South, that is causing. We're going to talk about getting out the vote activities and really cool organizing and creative initiatives being done on the ground in communities and cities around the world by DA members as they come together, mobilize together, and work together to build community and work to get out the vote and fight back. And we are going to be talking about the new resolution for the Americans Abroad Caucus in Congress and how that is important that is for the DA community and the Americans Abroad membership. We're so excited to welcome the guest for our, well, of course, Martha, our chair, who will be with us for the whole show, and a special guest for our first segment, Adrian George from Democrats Abroad Global Black Caucus. Obviously, it is very, very disturbing developments that bring us here together to have this first segment, of course. So maybe just a quick recap of where we are. I mean, about a year ago, Trump ordered Governor Abbott from Texas to gerrymander his congressional delegation. This is the first time I think that it ever happened in a long time. Usually redistricting takes place every 10 years as a natural consequence of the census. The point is to make sure that where people live based upon their population, that they are properly represented in Congress and the House of Representatives. Well, Trump saw an opportunity to try to gerrymander out a bunch of congressional Democratic leaning seats and told Abbott, redistrict now so you can give us an edge in Congress. That led to a arms race of redistricting around the country, right? Governor Newsom in California responded, and that led to follow-on redistricting in a number of other states. That redistricting took place, and then ultimately, most recently in Virginia, Virginia also passed a constitutional or a amendment to redistrict its state passed by the popular vote, but was ultimately nullified by the Virginia Supreme Court on a technical ground. At the same time, concurrently but also independently from that, the Supreme Court heard a decision called Calais v. Louisiana, and they ultimately voted that a map that the Louisiana had, which ensured that there were 2 seats for people of color in Congress based upon the makeup of the districts that those 2 people represented, that they would be majority minority districts, that was unconstitutional because even under the Voting Rights Act, because it said that the racial considerations were obsolete, and maps no longer needed to be drawn specifically to ensure that minority communities were explicitly represented by people from their community in Congress.
Oy.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That was on April 29th, so only a few weeks ago. And that within 2 days, so with the Supreme Court announcing that racism was over because history has progressed and more black people are voting, for example. Look at that's our data point. That the fact immediately within 2 days, Tennessee had announced and also passed a new map that eliminated its last remaining black representative seat. Now it's being followed by similar actions in South Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. The net effect of which is they are trying to eliminate the congressional districts that are currently represented by people of color, traditionally, and significantly in urban areas, Memphis, Nashville, and places like that. So it is a deeply, deeply disturbing situation. And with us to talk about, we have Adrian, we have Angela, we have Martha. So why don't you take it away?
Well, I would have to just say first that the thing that's the first time that it ever happened was that the President of the United States wanted the districts gerrymandered. I don't think I recall ever a president in the whole of the United States history wanting to gerrymander districts. It just shows the corruption that is intrinsic in the Trump administration and with Trump. Yeah, I think let's take a look quickly at some protests in Tennessee's capital that have been taking place over the past few days since this happened.
Tennessee, who are we? Tennessee, who are we? Tennessee. The districts may not be changed between apportionments.
This is a terrible day for Tennessee, and it's a terrible day for Memphis. I was born in Memphis. I love Memphis. And today Memphis is suffering from 1,000 cuts. And 100 of them came from Bill Lee and Donald Trump.
Yeah. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Yeah.
We have to fight back.
Yeah.
Because the reality is there's an intersectionality of our justice.
Yeah.
That if Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, if we don't fight together now, we will see the greatest dilution of black political power since the end of Reconstruction. Hear me now.
This is going across the South. We've seen some pictures of some potential maps where there is maybe a dot, a two, or blue. We cannot let this happen. United States of America, we will not allow this to happen to our country.
Well, it's just a huge slap in the face, for veterans, but also for the black community, because they have sacrificed, more than we can even imagine. And we've all got to stand up for our neighbors, and they're all our neighbors. We're all neighbors. We're all in this fight together.
We will
Most onions come from.
So that was a multiracial coalition in Tennessee trying to get the legislature there not to make this terrible mistake. Martha, Adrian, what do you think about everything that's going on right now? Martha, Adrian,
Go,
David?
Adrian.
Oh, good morning. I was deferring to my chair. Madam Chair, did you want to start?
Well, I mean, you know, in what we've been talking about so far, one thing that hasn't been said is this is gerrymandering on top of gerrymandering, right? Under the Voting Rights Act, these states went as far as they could to gerrymander representation of communities of color as much as they could minimize that. And now the floodgates are totally open. Within 48 hours, they changed the maps in Tennessee. It's blatant racial gerrymandering. So from political gerrymandering to racial gerrymandering. You know, they're doing that because they can't win elections this year. They're doing it because of the strength of the people wanting to vote for another kind of representation. And this is an act of desperation.
Yeah.
I agree. And yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I have some notes prepared and I am going to read them because this is a very emotional time for me. And so I want to stay on point and stay within my time. And I'm glad I'm invited because this conversation matters today because Americans abroad are not outside the fight for democracy. We're part of it. The attacks on voting rights, especially across the South, are attacks on representation, Black political power, and the promise of a multicultural democracy. I looked at the Win with Black Women call. They had an emergency call a couple of days ago, or if it wasn't just a few nights ago. And it reminded us that this moment asks us to use what is in our hands. For us, that means voting, helping others vote, showing up, supporting those on the front lines, and remembering that abroad voters can be the margin of victory. All roads lead to the South, and all of us have a role to play. Now, I want to close with a special note to Black women. This is a special note to Black women. I know many of us stepped back after November 2024. I did. For me, stepping back meant mourning, breathing, and serving in a different way by reminding fellow activists that mindfulness matters in movement work. This is hard work. Our people have always practiced ways to keep us whole and steady. We pray, we listen to our elders. We know Rosa Parks and Angela Davis practice yoga. When Kamala Harris lifted up the students recently at North Carolina A&T, she reminded us that this moment will not be easy. We must be prepared to fight. We may live abroad, but we are not separate from what's happening at home. We are living in the South, no matter what our foreign postal codes are. And if we do not organize now, if we don't vote now, if we don't fund now, if we don't speak now, if we don't show up now, we may witness what our ancestors fought so hard to erase. We may witness Jim Crow 3.0 in real time. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I understand completely how you feel. You know, my mother, who is 80 years old, was born in Jim Crow. And over the years, things changed in her life, and it makes me incredibly sad and worried for her, for everyone, for our future, my nieces, my nephews, my children, that we're going back into this sort of situation again. And it's really important. I know that we say this a lot, but it's so important to vote this year. If you're seeing us and you're in the United States, go to iwillvote.com and make sure that if you're registered, make sure your registration is still there. You know, they're constantly trying to throw people out of the register. And if you're not registered, then register to vote immediately. It is so important. It does not matter what district you're going to be in, vote, because what these people have done is, in a sense, they've made all their districts kind of purple because they've incorporated everyone into all these districts. So this doesn't mean that we don't have any chance. It means we still have a chance. And as long as we're alive, as long as we can fight, we have a chance. All of our ancestors, Black, white, Asian, Native American, had to fight to get to where we are. So this is not the time
Angela,
to fight, not stop fighting. Yeah, to Angela.
no. And again, a lot of us wanted to take time off and needed to take time off. And some of you may still be thinking, I'm not doing this. I don't need to be on the front line. Well, find a different way to fight. If you don't want to put your body out there or your face out there, put your dollars out there. Take your Starbucks money, fund a campaign, right? This is not the time to sit out in any way, shape, or form. Yes, we're tired. Yes, we're exhausted. Think how tired Harriet Tubman must have been. Did that sister ever get rest? If you took a break, I hear you, I feel you. Come back, find your way to the fight. One thing I was encouraged by Vice President Kamala Harris is she sees our Generation Z and Xers. They really don't want to give up the fight, the freedoms that they were born into, that they just assumed. Okay, our generation, Angela said, you said your mother was born into Jim Crow. Mine too. We inherited all their work in the civil rights movement. We assumed it was going to be forever. The generations that came from behind us, they just knew it was going to be forever. Now they've woken up to that reality. I'm happy to say that Vice President Harris is reporting that on the college campuses, the kids are fighting. Thank you, youth. I want to invite anyone that is an American abroad. What is the age limit? Is it 32, 35 and under to join our Democrats Abroad Youth Caucus?
35.
35. The youth. I remember when I used to be 35. I know I'm thrilled now when somebody says I look 45. But the point is, if this is your first election, what an exciting, scary time to vote. So if you're going to be 18, by November 4th, or if your primary is still coming up, we're in primary season. I don't want to jump to November, people, but I do want to encourage every Black, brown, queer, whatever gendered, whatever able body, whether you served or know someone who served. This is our time. This is our time. We say that every year. I'm so sick of it. But if it's not now, I don't know when.
Yeah, this is our, I'm not going to say this is our last chance, but this is one of our an inflection point in our history. And we can't actually go forward like this as the same country that we were before. So, I mean, and depending on, that might not be that great, the same country that we were before, but women had rights, LGBTQ people have rights, people of color have rights. Everyone has rights to live in our society. And now they're trying to take it away. Do not waste time. Request your absentee ballot at votefromabroad.org. I will be adding that to the chat shortly. For everybody, the same thing with I will vote, because we never know who's watching. It's super critical to vote, and don't let anyone ever tell you that voting is not important, because if it was important, if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be working so hard to take it away. They know that it's super important, and they don't want anyone, they want to keep their white Christian nationalist abusive policies going forward, and we're not going to let them. We're not going to let them.
Thank you, Angela and Adrian. That is so important. We really already had the opportunity for this to be a blue election wave year, and even more so than ever. It's incredibly important that people step up and vote. And really, what could motivate us more than these egregious attacks on the rights of all Americans? The Voting Rights Act opened up democracy in a new way that had never happened before. And taking that out of the law, it just means that all of us have to step up. And just like Adrian said, do something. Find out your expression, do something. Donate to Democrats Abroad, help another voter vote. If we all do something, and if we're all prepared for what comes after this election in November to take action, that will make a difference.
Yeah,
Yes,
that is,
100.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, just what this was really powerful what you said, Adrian and Angela. And I just want to say, like, it's one thing to hear the news, redistricting is taking place, that these, receipts are being looked at to be eliminated, and it's quite another to see like the video that you shared and to really see what's going on the ground, and how people are fighting back and wondering about how we can be involved, whether or not those are states that we vote in or not, like it really, really matters. And we are all, connected, and we are all tied to this. And I mean, there's even going to be a big march, right, this Sunday down in Alabama, right? All roads lead to the South. Tennessee is a bellwether for the South, and I really feel that, watching Justin Pearson and the other, video, and also the demonstrations that were taking place in the Tennessee state legislature. And, I mean, ironically, kind of coincidentally, Justin Pearson himself also made a video beseeching Americans abroad to vote. So we really are, even he acknowledges how we're in that fight. So could you show that video, please?
Hello there, young Democrats abroad. I'm Tennessee State Representative Justin J. Pearson, coming to you from my office here in Nashville, encouraging you to vote. So please engage in this political process. We know that it makes a difference. We know that when we vote, we have the opportunity to have our vision, our values, and our future reflected in the people who represent us. I'm currently serving in the Tennessee House of Representatives because young people have demanded that things change. We want to see more affordable access to opportunity. We want to see presidents who aren't operating as authoritarians. We want a country that we can be proud of. And no matter where you find yourself, cast that ballot through absentee voting so that your voice and our communities can reflect the vision and the pluralistic democracy that we want to see possible. I love y'all, sending you so much love from these United States of America, and I'll be in touch soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a great
We
video.
love you too, Justin. And he is exactly the breed of young politician that gives me hope, that makes me smile, that terrifies the establishment. As Vice President Harrison said, the politicians on the perch that are worried about getting toppled. He is the future. He is the now. He is the present. He lost he could lose. Didn't they redistrict him, gerrymandered him?
No, he's a state
Not
he's a
yet.
state
He's
representative. So
He's
I
a
mean,
state
it could
representative.
happen, but I mean,
Exactly. He wants to run. Exactly. He's the type of leader. So I watched another video from him. He said, we need to come out in droves in numbers never seen before in every election in every state. So as Aaron, you mentioned, some people think, well, I'm not in that state. I don't have to vote. That's not true. Everybody needs to vote blue. Even if you voted red last time, didn't vote at all, or maybe purple, indeed, doesn't matter. This is your time to vote blue in numbers, unprecedented numbers. All those cliches that they use, the blue wave, unprecedented numbers, turn out like they've never seen before. Let's come out so in such a way that they have to come up with a new adjective that we give these news reporters. They have to dig deep and come up with a new way to describe the response to the dawning of Jim Crow 3.0. Can we say we're in 2.0? Is that fair?
I
That's
think
fair
that all
to
the
say.
evidence is seeming to point to that, but I mean, it's on us to fight back, as you said, right, Adrian? And I mean, look there, like I am still quite bullish that Democrats are going to take the House in November, right? I mean, all the structural signs are there. I mean, Trump is out there laughing about how he doesn't care about Americans' affordability challenges. Wars are raging that we are instigating. His popularity is down. I mean, Democrats are up on the generic ballot +5. People are, Democrats are overperforming in special elections all over the country. I mean, look at Taylor Remet in Texas. Look at Chastity Martinez in Louisiana. So but that's at the national level, right? Like I believe that we will win if we do the mobilization work that you're calling for. And we want to talk about that and what we're doing specifically in a second. But at the same time, that will not do anything to the fact that these majority minority districts have been erased in the different states. So, right, let's say Tennessee will still have 11 delegates. Who are those delegates is what's at
Right.
stake here, right? In the specific discussion about the elimination of VRA and the redistricting that's happening specifically in these states and for these seats that are trying to be erased. And the irony, of course, is that redistricting was supposed to be on its face about ensuring representation, not taking it away. And so the politicalness, the partisanship, and the racism is just so apparent. So we need to fight back in every way possible. And the main way, as you've said, is mobilizing and mobilizing harder than we ever have before and overperforming and, you know what I mean, really coming out in numbers. And I just want to say that there are people in Democrats abroad doing that work all over the world, working hard to ensure that we are the margin of victory in those close races, like we were for Roy Cooper in North Carolina, like we were for Chrissy Mays in Arizona, like we were for, oh my God, I forgot the senator from Michigan. I'm blanking on her name right now. But Angela, you did some GOTV
Right.
work on the ground in Germany. And Rob, I want to hear what you're doing in Barcelona. Can you tell us about the work you're doing in Germany?
Well, our goal in Germany is to find every American to help get out the vote. There are several 100,000 Americans that live in Germany, and they're not all with the military, but many of them are also. So what we normally do is all throughout Germany, we set up GOTV tabling events where we go to various cities and just in their sort of their town squares or wherever there's a lot of people around, we set up a table for vote from abroad and find people to that are American and help them request their ballot. Last weekend, my chapter and I went out and did a tabling event, which actually it was a beautiful day. It's not a beautiful day today, but it was a beautiful day. And we ran into tons of Americans or dual citizens, or we also run into a lot of people whose children are American, but they're not. They're German, but they were maybe married to an American and their children are American also, taking back information. One of the really good stories, like a good news story from last weekend for me, was a lady comes up to the table and she's German. And she says, I was just talking to my friend who's American. She lives in another city. And I said that there's always this vote from abroad table here in our city, during the warm weather times. And when I see them, I'll get you the information. She told me this story and she said, I just talked to my friend yesterday and here you are today. So it was super nice to be able to help a person through a third party because she knew we would be there because we always show up. So you can volunteer with your local chapter or country committee to set up a table and go out and find people because Americans are out there and it doesn't really matter where you live. We're everywhere. Americans are everywhere. You just have to go out and try to find them.
That is true. That is true. And in a positive sense, right? Like touring the world, engaging with the world, being out there and not just in the negative sense. And it's great to meet other people, right? And it's great to when you bring joy to someone, they see you out there tabling, doing civic work. I mean, I used to volunteer at the polls many times back in the States and people would always thank you for what you're doing. And I think I
Yes.
often find that that's the case too when you're out there tabling in a foreign country and they're like, oh, wow, you're helping me vote all the way from out here. That's fabulous. Thank you for this service. And Angela, I just can't not miss the smile on your face as you're telling this story. So I hope it's fun.
Yeah,
Rob,
it is. It's
yeah.
awesome. Rob, do you want to come on and talk
Rob
about?
has some fun too. He wants to share with us because this stuff is a cool way to meet and work with other people in the other Americans in the country or the city in which you are. Yo, man, you're muted. Which is
Sorry about that,
something
of
you've probably
course.
not heard before in your life.
It's hard to mute me. I'm from New York City. So I think it's important to have fun because the onslaught of horrific Republican disgraces on an every single day basis. So it's important to get together, be part of a community. And I think that's a great thing that DA is doing. If people do need to reset and they do need to be involved in different types of ways, you can do that. Come be part of a community and be part of the book club that we host here in Barcelona. Come be part of movie night. We do brunch twice a month. We do a happy hour once a month at a very cool wine bar in Gracia. It's, and these are the types of things we're doing here in Barcelona to both maintain community and build political, power. Our executive team is absolutely incredible. I mean, we have a 3-woman force of Annie, Rachel, and Doris that are just exceeding in every single possible way, excelling in every single possible way. I have to give them a shout out because they're really crushing it. But I want to tell you a couple of things that we're doing that are pretty exciting, because what they've done
Yes, please.
is specifically these 3 things that I like the most out of everything that we're doing is we have a scavenger hunt coming up in Barcelona on June 6th by the Global Women's Caucus and the Spain Women's Caucus. They are fundraising for all the things that cost money, like phone banking and GOTV efforts. And it's going to be a very fun, interesting way to tour around a 2-mile range of Barcelona and really just build that community together and stuff. It's about $10, but every little bit helps. Everybody raising a little bit of money towards these things that we need to, obviously put into place and have in place for the midterms are huge. And then we have a very talented musician who's going to host a concert at our home on May 17th. She performs for us at the protests. We've done about 8 or 9 so far in Barcelona. Again, the engine of our wonderful executives and volunteers that are putting it together. But she's going to help raise money for all those costs associated with protests. So, getting a PA system, handouts, signage, markers, everything costs money. So every little bit that you can do and be involved helps. But I have a little secret operation that I'm planning in Barcelona. We have a few of us together. We haven't made the official event yet, but we're having our first meeting this weekend where we're going to go visit the Pope, El Papa, as he visits Barcelona.
Another fellow American coming to visit Barcelona.
That's the plan. So we want to go there and try to get ourselves on the news with some little clever, catchy, big, very large signs reminding the American Pope that he indeed has the right to vote from anywhere and that he should engage in his constitutionally protected activity. So those are a few of the more fun ones. But if you go on the DA website, there's a list of events by city, by country. And it's great to just reset and recharge and be involved and commiserate with people who share the same beliefs about human rights and equal rights for everyone. But also there's opportunities to be involved if you want to phone bank, if you want to do GOTV work, if you want to help organize protests. We're doing it all. We have the organization that people need. So thank you for giving me the time to talk a little about it.
As if we needed any more reasons to come to Barcelona. Now we have them.
I know, Aaron, I just wanted to say, Robert, you had me at brunch. I'm so impressed. You had me at brunch.
Yes, our executives are just rock stars, and I'm so glad that they're doing all of this. It makes it so fun. And, we need it. We absolutely need it. There's a big fight coming. Not everybody's like me. I like the fight every single day when it's evil people doing evil things. I don't like when good people are afraid, so I'm going to always be on the attack. But normal people need to rest and recharge and be with people, in groups and community. And I'm glad we do all this stuff. That's fun for everyone.
Yeah. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Thanks so much, Rob. We really appreciate it. And Angela, because now we know there's stuff going all over the world. And I think, we should take time on this show to feature some different localities and what they're doing so people can hear about it. Look, there's primaries still going on. Take care of it. There's primaries going on throughout the month of May and June in any number of different states. I won't read you the list because I want to get to Martha again, but go to votefromabroad.org to find out your elections, your states. Make sure you know the specific ways in which you need to return your ballot. Yes, thank you, Martha. Primaries are taking place now, and primaries and getting involved in them is a great way to ensure that the candidate who you support, who has the vision for the future that you endorse, is the one who gets elected, and yet you're in that fight. And then come the general, we got to just make sure these people win up and down the ballot so that we can take Congress, take the Senate, ensure governorships, and really hold the regime to account. That being said, we have another good news story to share with you all. So Martha, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, Aaron. And yeah, voting is a muscle you exercise. So the more you exercise it, right, the more impact that we make. So thanks for that. And great to hear all those inspirational stories from around the Democrats Abroad world. So on the 28th of April, an important bill was introduced in Congress by Congresswoman Dina Titus out of Nevada, and it's the Americans Abroad Commission Bill. So this is a bill that was introduced for the first time more than 10 years ago, and it would set up a commission to study the issues that impact Americans abroad. Because, you know, we're not physically present in the United States. We live all around the world, and therefore we don't always get included. We're sometimes forgotten in legislation and rules and all kinds of things that take place in the United States. And that really impacts us in our lives. We have sometimes limited access to banking services. We have our own complex tax burdens, having to file taxes where we live as well as back in the United States. The knowledge of that is not always out there in our community. We have obstacles to voting. We have our own rules and ways of voting, and we're not there physically present to make sure that things work. And all of that is driven by federal laws and policies, and they can have unintended consequences. And we know these issues well, but our representatives don't. And just remember, we don't have our own representative in Congress. We have 435 members of Congress that represent us abroad and 100 senators. So this commission would actually study the issues that impact Americans abroad. And it already has 4 co-sponsors in the House. And we want to expand that and make sure that more of our representatives are aware of the bill that would create this commission, and that they step up and co-sponsor the bill that has been introduced by Representative Titus, who's always out there advocating for us as Americans abroad. So we have a call to action about that, which we'll put in the chat. We really want to encourage everybody, Democrats abroad and everybody, to contact your representative and ask them to co-sponsor and support this bill, which again would look into all the issues and do studies. You know, we're not included in the census. There's really not very much data about us. I mean, nobody really even knows how many people live abroad. There's a lot of work that could be done by this commission that would support Americans abroad and our families.
Well, that is really good news, Martha. I did put that out in the chat, and people are responding. So that is super.
Yeah, we're really blessed to have Representative Titus standing up for our community. And in the past, when we used to advocate for all these different issues, it was really carved up. We advocated with different representatives on different issues. And what we've been doing over the last several years is advocating for this commission, because that would really empower us to be represented and to be have data about our lives in this commission, and it would help us with all of the issues that impact us. You know, we were one of those communities that was almost forgotten when the Affordable Care Act was introduced, right? And initially that had a penalty for those who didn't register, and we could not register in that healthcare plan. And so it was Democrats abroad who reminded our representatives to give us an exemption, just a very small example of the kind of things that can impact us. And we want all 435 of our representatives in Congress and all of our senators to be sure that when the legislation is introduced, that we are addressed.
That would be wonderful, because I think that they're often doing things that they don't realize will have a negative effect on Americans that live abroad, Americans that still pay taxes, that have family and friends still in the United States, that visit the United States regularly and participate in US elections. So I think this is a great opportunity for us, and I hope people will take the opportunity to write their representatives. The text is all in that link that I shared. That everything that you need to know is there. So please take advantage of that and make sure that we're properly represented in the Congress.
Yeah, so true, Angela. And I just want to remind everyone that Americans living abroad have not always had the right to vote. We gained that right 50 years ago. May I point out that was after the Voting Rights Act was introduced in 1965. The doors opened for many communities to gain more rights. And it was really the Black community and the Voting Rights Act that started the civil rights movement that benefited so many different communities. And I think we, as Americans abroad, are also incredibly grateful for the fact that we won that right. We advocated for it, but it only happened because of the people that came before us. And that is why Congressman John Lewis, the late congressman, was so supportive of Democrats abroad, because he knew that our struggle for our right to vote is part of a larger struggle of all of the American people to have the representation that they deserve and the right to express themselves and to vote in free and fair elections. And that's what's at stake this year. And that's why we want everyone to get out there and register to vote from abroad if you're abroad. And please spread the word with your friends and family and Americans wherever you meet them.
That's right. Before we go on, I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the people who are watching that have made comments in our chat. I just want to say hi, thanks Denise for all your support, and Peggy. And also we have DA South Africa, whoever that might be, watching too, that they've made comments. So shout out to everybody who's watching. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you will continue to join us. Aaron, I see that Terry is here. Do we
That's
want
okay.
to
We'll,
bring-
yeah, no, well, Terry, Terry's in Asia. We had a little, I guess, time mix up, and anyway, we'll do, obviously, we're going to invite Terry back for another discussion at some point. Obviously, these issues are not going away, and he tried to make time in between his his busy class schedule, but we'll do another episode and involve Terry.
Okay. All right. One last thing. I just want to do a quick overview for everybody about the upcoming elections. So give me 1 second to pull this up. Okay, there we go. Everyone loves Zoom. All right. So let me get rid of this. So I just want to talk quickly about what is at stake this year in our elections. And hold on, there we go. Go away, floating meeting controls. All right, so what is at stake this year is that we have every seat in the House of Representatives up, all 435. We have 35 Senate seats, which is kind of an amazing amount for this year. We've got 36 gubernatorial elections. We've got so many mayoral and other city and state positions up, and we have a lot of people that have retired that are going to retire at the end of this session. So we have a great opportunity to make our government better. So please vote. But more importantly, this is a little bit of a breakdown about where these elections are. So you can see that there is a lot of states that have both a Senate and a governor's race. Also the House of Representatives, everyone has a House of Representatives race. There's states that only have senators. There's states that only have a governor's race, but there's only 5 states that just have the House of Representatives this year. So doesn't matter. We need every vote. Please, everybody, just make sure you go to votefromabroad.org and request your ballot. I thought this was a really good thing that we can see about how many people are overseas. This is not by any stretch of the imagination how many Americans there are out there in the world. There are a lot of people that don't know they can vote. But these are our largest states that we have: California, Washington, Florida. Florida people, please, we've got to have a Democratic governor. And we've got to get rid of the Senate seat and make that Democratic. So please go to votefromabroad.org. It's really important. Don't just go to the state website, because that doesn't always work out the way you want. Texas, same thing. New York, Colorado, Oregon, Virginia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Those are all our biggest states. My husband votes in Pennsylvania. I vote in Florida. And this is how everyone else shakes out. But even these are the next 40 states. But if you look at the numbers, we can make a difference if we all vote. We are the margin of victory. So don't not vote, because your vote counts, and these different judgments and redistricting, they're showing us how much our vote matters. I just also want to go quickly and just say that there are actually 32 states that will let you vote down ballot, so you'll get a full ballot even if your return is uncertain. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't know who to vote for. Well, you can always go to the Blue Voter Guide. It's a great thing. You put in your voting address and it shows you everything that's on your ballot. You can use this even if you're not overseas and print it out and take it to the polls with you. So with that, I just want to say, everybody vote because it's super important.
That's an amazing final message to leave us on. And I would just say quickly, some of the margin of you're so right, Angela. Some of those margin of victory races, those places where the abroad vote was larger than the difference between a candidate winning and losing. I mean, for statewide races in particular, Senator Elise Slotkin won by like 18,000 votes, and fewer than 18,000 votes, and there were that many, more than that many abroad votes. Roy Cooper, same, when he became governor of North Carolina the first time. Christy Mays, Secretary of State of Arizona, same, won by 280, less than 300 votes. There were more abroad votes than that. The mayor of Boca Raton, Florida, in this cycle won by one single vote.
That's right.
So yes, your vote matters. Overseas votes can be the margin of difference and margin of victory, and that's in even states with only one abroad voter. Not to mention the states where we have well over 100,000 numbers, and we know that those numbers are much, much higher. Those are just people who've actually returned their ballots from abroad in 2024. Not even the number of Americans that are out there, because it's a highly mobile and community. Lots of turnovers, people going back to the states and coming abroad and moving locations.
It's also people that just don't realize they can vote.
That too.
And and also, I can't say this enough, because a lot of Americans don't realize they can vote in the midterms. They think they can only vote in the presidential election year, and it's not true. So get your ballot, vote, and let's make the change. Everything that needs to happen doesn't involve voting, for sure, but it does start with voting, because that's how we got Donald Trump. And speaking of Donald Trump, Judith, there's a clip at the very end. Oh, where's my clip?
Right. Lest people get too lost in the machinations around gerrymandering and, which seat, who's got which seat and whatnot. This clip should show you the structural issue and the core reason why we will win in November. Retake Congress, the gavel, and also hopefully the Senate in November. Well, in January. Win in November, take office in January.
Yeah, that's true. Trump, Judith, can you show that Trump clip? I don't see it in the run of show anymore. Okay.
Right, teaser, I guess we could show.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have it.
Okay, I guess someone took it out of the script. All right, well, it was there, but we will show it later. It was actually a clip of Donald Trump saying that he didn't care about Americans' financial situation, and it doesn't ever occur to him to think about it. So I'm sure you may have seen it before, but it can't be said enough. Donald Trump doesn't care about Americans. He doesn't even care about the ones that voted for him, let alone the ones that don't vote for him. But with that, I think let's
end on a positive note. We have great events taking place all over the world. Join them. Find your community. Find your local chapter. Find the events that are taking place there. Commune with other Americans living abroad. Final word, Adrienne.
Yeah.
You turn your screen back on. That's the indication you've got something to say.
Well, maybe I stopped crying, and I'm glad that you all took that and brought it back to a smile. What did our representative in the House, Jeffrey, say? A setback, is a setup for a comeback. So let's come back to the polls in droves. Thank you for tuning in. Votefromabroad.org.
Yeah, vote from abroad. So until the next time, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Adrienne. Thanks to Judith, our tech person. Thanks to Martha. Thanks to Robert. And we will see you all next time.